So with that, gentlemen, I don't want to talk further. Thank you very much for patiently hearing this, whether you consider nonsense or sense. We all appeal to you to stand up against all hegemony, domination, indignity, inhumanity, oppression, exploitation and all. With that, I thank you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. S.M. Idris. Now, we would like to invite Ms. Jackie Green, UNESCO Chair in Community-Based Research and Social Responsibility in Higher Education, to give her statement. No, she's gonna...
Wa Hemas Kukilut, Angwa Gondox, Haisla Kitsalas, Simshian. I want to honor the ancestors of this land that we were on today. On behalf of Dr. Rajesh Tandon from the Society of Participatory Research in Asia in India, and Bud Hull from the University of Victoria in Canada, co-chairs are delighted to offer greetings on behalf of the UNESCO Chair in Community-Based Research and Social Responsibility. We congratulate Albuquerque International University and Multiversity on organizing and hosting this timely conference, and look forward to studying the results of the deliberations and to sharing the findings with both the UNESCO Chair and the Global Alliance for Community Engaged Scholarship Networks. We live in times when the gap between the rich and the poor has never been wider, and when the threat to the biosphere from some forms of human activity has never been clear. If higher education and knowledge creation and action are to take a more socially responsible path in the direction of equality, justice, and sustainability, the question of whose knowledge counts must be asked. The role of leadership in the decolonizing of higher education and in the creation of spaces for indigenous knowledges and other forms of diverse ways of knowing is key. We salute Tan Sri Zulkifli Abdul Razak, Vice Chancellor of Al-Bukhari International University, and S.M. Mohammed Idris and Claude Alvarez of Multiversity for their continued leadership in these critically important issues, and to each of the participants who have come to share their thoughts and aspirations. We look forward to learning and discussing with you justice for all people. Wah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Now, we wish to request Mr. Daryl Mesa, Regional Advisor on Social and Human Sciences in Asia and the Pacific, UNESCO Bangkok, to make his statement.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting UNESCO to be part of this endeavor. I congratulate the Vice-Chancellor, Droll, for bringing so many diverse students from around the world to form the core of an interesting endeavor which must succeed. I also appreciate the Secretary General of ASEAN, Mr. Surin. We need leadership. This conference, titled International Conference on University Leadership for Integrating Knowledge Diversity for Sustainability. Let's reflect a little on what this title integrates. Of course, we know the work of multiversity is behind a lot of this. We take for granted often definitions of knowledge. What is knowledge? Who constructs knowledge? Who owns knowledge? Who uses knowledge? When you as students come to the university, you expect to learn some knowledge. Well, what sort of knowledge? And I think here we saw the foundations of colonial knowledge being questioned. If we look at university curricula around the world, and some of us gathered here last June in Penang, looking at the question of decolonizing our universities, the definitions of knowledge were challenged. It's not an accident that we have already had references to indigenous forms of knowledge, although all of us have some community which we are indigenous to. The fact that knowledge has been taken from many people around the world and then, in a sense, shaped and constructed in very narrow definitions has really led to, I think, depletion of diversity in our communities and our nations. So it's high time for us to revisit this, and this is, I think, a very important step. How do we integrate knowledge diversity into systems which are often defining knowledge in very narrow terms, whether it be citation indices for promotion of careers, whether it be for accreditation of what is an official degree, what is an official university. In fact, it's interesting to look at some of the papers that will be presented tomorrow, I think, questioning, how do we define a university itself? If we come from the spirit of study, of learning, then perhaps this narrow definition of university needs to be revisited. Sustainability is another interesting word. We all are trying to live sustainably. The species Homo sapien, which we belong to, is a very young species. Only about 40 years ago, we had a situation where on this planet, half of all the human beings who were ever born on the planet lived at the same time. Our species is so young, it's still in its exponential growth curve, which poses so many challenges when we have systems of knowledge which exploit and destroy other life forms and our communities, let alone other people. So although the valuing of each person for their dignity is essential for a sustainable social system, we have to go beyond the species boundary. We have to go beyond our very anthropocentric views and have a really ecocentric view of future generations. It's ironic that universities were meant to be the foundations for the future generation and future knowledge. Yet, they often were restricting the forms of knowledge that people could learn by their very narrow definitions of knowledge and wisdom. So as we try to discover wisdoms which actually were known to us in some senses, and others which we can construct using our mind, we have to think how to use this sustainably. What is sustainability? As you may know, the United Nations Charter starts, "We the peoples of the world." But we can often question the work of many institutions, including the institutions we formed to represent us, whether they really represent the peoples of the world. So if we want a more secure future, one which is sustainable, one which respects everybody's abilities and knowledge, we have to work together to try to become more diverse. UNESCO was interesting as a UN agency founded in the ashes of World War II to shape the minds of people to create peace. But peace doesn't mean everyone thinks in the same way. Everyone submits himself to the same way of moral values. Everyone submits themselves to the same education system. Peace means a really enriched society with diverse forms of knowledge. And I hope that the conference will also suggest to the UN and UNESCO and ASEAN and other governmental bodies how we can do a better job of representing the peoples of the world and not just being confined to the assumed forms of knowledge. So I applaud the organizers. I'm sure we are coming together to learn many things. And for all the students here, I hope you can enjoy the sessions and ask questions, because the ageism which has formed a barrier to really knowledge creation in many forms of learning is still very common in many of the countries you're from. But unless we break down such stereotypes, such values, we really will be lost for our knowledge. So I applaud you again. Thank you for this, and I look forward to an exciting conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mesa. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the moment that we have been waiting for. We cordially invite Honorable Datuk Professor Dr. Rozia Binti Umar, Director of ACAP, to deliver her much-awaited welcoming address.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and a very good afternoon. Honorable Dr. Surin Pitsuwan, Secretary General of ASEAN, Yang Berbahagia Professor Tan Sri Datuk Zulkifli Abdul Razak, Vice Chancellor Al-Bukhari International, Yang Berbahagia Mr. S.M. Idris, Dr. Claude Alvarez of Multiversity,